today we're going to be doing some author planning, and I have a dream of being a best-selling author, like I'm sure you if you're watching this, and I want to be like if Olivia Blake and Emily Henry had an author baby that writes STEM magical stories that give you the same kind of butterflies you get from a rom-com. But the problem is, right now, I only have one book out, and I can barely make $10 a month on that book. So this is going to be the first in a series of me trying to apply all the hundreds of hours of productivity content I've consumed in books and videos to the business of being an author, seeing what works, what doesn't, and what actually changes the numbers on 3 major writing goals I have for my career. So today we're going to be walking through the Notion that I set up to track all these writing goals and be kind of my author hub. I've definitely been the kind of person in the past who has loved creating a very aesthetic setup to track all of my different goals, and ended up putting so much time and effort on the front end to set up the system that I never actually used the system. So lately I've been trying a different approach where I actually was super hands-off and haven't been tracking much of anything. I made it as easy as possible for me to first kind of establish the goals that will build up the system for me. So I've been using, and I mentioned this in a few different vlogs, this cute little Tamagotchi app where you can set a different goal, and they're very, very simple. This one, it started with step count, so it just connected to the Apple Watch. Then I made one for writing, posting to TikTok, and also reading, so that every day I can just check off whether I did it. And then that kind of got me into the habit of really making forward progress every single day. And now I feel comfortable enough where I think I can put some time and energy into making a much bigger, more sophisticated tracking system for this. So without further ado, let's start walking through what I set up. Now this is kind of the main dashboard when you come into my new Notion life. I have at the top 2 little widgets for kind of big deadlines of goals that I've set for myself and that I want to track. So the first one is about querying my current work in progress, Potentia, which I just sent to beta readers and got all their feedback. So the current step in the process is to collate all their feedback and then start implementing it, which I've written out my edit notes for all the different chapters and have a big picture idea of what I need to get done. And then the other one is for publishing the second book in the Power Shadows series. So the first book that I have out, Power Shadows, is the first in a 3-book trilogy, and so I need to get a move on the next one. This one was published in October of 2023, so it's been a long time, and I've been working on this other book, Potentia, but I really want to make some progress on that. I have it on my website that I'll be publishing it in spring of 2026, and so planning backwards, I have all these intermediate goals, and I need to kind of make sure that I stay on track to target that date. Then I have this writing goal section, which is what everything's kind of centered around. So there's 3 main goals, and I have these kind of in order. Now, I did indie publish The Power of Shadows, which is fantastic, and I really enjoyed that process, but I do still kind of have dreams of traditional publishing, and so we're going to be pursuing both of those in parallel. The first one is to get an agent for Potentia. I think this one is definitely has a lot more potential for a traditional publication route, and so I want to at least try that route before going indie again. Then also forming a writing community. That's what we're doing here, chatting, talking about all the different things we're learning. Then making money from writing. Now this isn't my top goal, but it's definitely something long term. I would like to be able to make some sort of income from my writing so I can do more and more of it, especially thinking not just in short term, but kind of a long-term horizon. I want to write as much as I can for as much of my life, and so just being realistic about things, it would be great to be able to make a little bit of money off of this. Then I have this writing projects Kanban board that has generally the categories. Now, these are not the only 3 stages of the process. Obviously, there's a lot more, but I hide all the ones that don't have a project currently in them. So we can see Power Shadows 2 is plotting, and technically I did finish kind of plotting it, but I haven't really started drafting, so I didn't want to move it yet. Editing is Potentia, and again, these can kind of move back and forth and back and forth. We have drafting, feedback, editing, and querying. Feedback and editing, I definitely move between these 2 3 or 4 times before kind of getting into any sort of stage. And then the publish, I definitely need to break out this kind of complete published one into a few different more steps, because there's definitely a lot going on there with cover design and all these different things that you have to go through before it's in a state where it can be put out into the world. And then we get into kind of the major calendar view that has all of these different goals and all of the different sub tasks within those goals put into one place, so I can kind of see my month laid out. Although I would consider myself a type A person, I am not a very calendar oriented person. If we're thinking about Myers-Briggs, or if you know what that is, there's one part of that personality test where it's S versus N, which is like intuitive versus more detail oriented. I forget what the S stands for, but I'm definitely an intuitive person. I think very big picture, and I think my brain is really good at connecting things kind of fuzzily, but I'm not super in the details, in the weeds. We're gonna try this out. I'm definitely want to see how like not going as go with the flow and just kind of thinking a little bit more ahead helps with things. Because so far I kind of just post YouTube videos when I feel like making them, and I've tried to establish more habits of posting to TikTok and doing a little bit more forward progress on these projects, but I haven't been thinking about targeting specific dates or specific timelines for tasks, so we'll see how this helps. But then let's double click into some of these goals. Looking at getting an agent or traditional publishing, I tried to make these a little bit more specific, whereas the tags on the calendar are more vague. So traditional publishing, community, and then writing income. So those are kind of like the larger categories of these, but then I wanted to write these goals to be tangible. You know, this happens or it doesn't. And they're not necessarily a SMART goal, although I probably should frame them that way. But they are at least something that's a binary, yes, it happened, or no, it did not. So on this page, I have a few of the links. Now, I did go through a querying process with the Power Shadows, so I am a little bit familiar, but that was years ago at this point, so I don't remember exactly all the details. I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more deep research into exactly what the best practices are, what's changed, what literary agents are looking for, things like that. But generally, I want to have one place to pull all my materials together and track things. I tracked a lot more on paper last time, and I think that stuff kind of got lost in the process. So I want it to all be super clear and in one place. So this is actually connected to that big calendar that we were looking at. All of these are things that are on that calendar, and each one of these I can kind of write specifics down here and add different things so that when I can click into them from any of the views, I can see the notes I've made for myself or different details I've added. I am a Apple Notes girly at the moment, so I have a bunch of random notes. I have like writing folder, I have a YouTube folder, and anytime I think of something, I put a random note in there, which is great because then I can capture stuff as I go, but then it doesn't have any organized place or home afterwards for me to easily find it when I'm looking back through things. So I'm hoping that I can kind of shift to, if not making the notes, then at least transferring them to the tasks that are associated within here so that they're easier to find when it comes time to actually do those things. I also have this kind of section, which when I have a more final version of each of these, I have a draft of the synopsis, which I'm going to rewrite based on the big changes that I know I'm going to make based on my beta reader feedback. Then I have a draft of my query letter, but again, based on the changes from the beta reader feedback, I think I'm really going to strengthen the emotions and motivations for one of my main characters, and I want that to come through a lot more in the query letter. I think it's a good start, but again, I think that we can really punch up the emotions and make the connection a lot more immediate for the agent reading the letter. And then email template and the first pages. And then here I have a database that I'm going to put all of the different agents that I reach out to, status and things. I know Query Tracker does track a lot of this, but I also want to have it kind of in my own personal records because, I don't know, I just like to do that. So that's kind of the hub for that, and I'll continue to grow, and I'll probably keep changing it as we go, and I'll update you guys as that happens. But then we have next, forming a writer community. That's what we're doing here. That's what I do on TikTok. Really, it's been kind of an invaluable asset to meet people, especially on TikTok, because I spent a lot more of my time when I was writing and querying and doing all the things for the Power Shadows. I was on TikTok posting about it a lot, and it was so fun to meet people who are doing the kind of same thing and who are passionate about the same things as I am. And I'm hoping that we can grow YouTube into a similar space like that, where we can chat a little bit more long form about this kind of stuff. So that's the general purpose of this. There is also looped in here kind of social media as a marketing tool, which I have for sure not mastered. There's a lot of creators on YouTube, and I'll link a few down below, who are really great at this and are making like hundreds of thousands, if not millions, from using TikTok as a marketing channel to get their books out there. And a lot of them have like a really long backlog, which helps a lot. Once somebody starts reading, they can read a bunch more. So definitely missing out on a lot of that, and that's kind of one of the main priorities for the next one, but I'll touch on that in a second. But forming a writer community, I have my YouTube videos planned out here. I want to get a lot more regular with my posting schedule and have kind of a better cadence of the type of videos I do and vary them up a little bit more. If you guys have anything you want to see in particular, please comment down below. I would love to chat about it and definitely make the kind of stuff that you guys want to watch. But right now I'm planning on doing kind of sit down talky videos like this once a week, and then an evening 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5 writing vlog once a weekish. That's the general idea. And then down here I have a kind of tracking database where I've never been a big like tracker of my counts or things like that. But I think it might be nice to at least like take this data and be able to see what changes, what doesn't, and if implementing any new strategies in my kind of social media approach changes any of this, and being able to kind of like correlate that. So I have that down there as well. Then we have the last one, which is making money from writing. And again, this is listed last because it technically is not my main priority. And I think that's, I probably would have more success if I went all in on traditional publishing or all in on indie publishing, and if my main goal was to make money, I probably wouldn't write in the way that I write, or I might write things slightly differently than I like to. But the craft is more number one for me. It's not, my main goal is not to make money. My main goal is to build a career that I'm really proud of and write things that really connect with readers. Anyways, not that you can't do that, making writing your number one priority. That's all to say. Here's kind of this page, which is pretty abysmal. So I did publish this almost 2 years ago now. So the money coming in is definitely not anything crazy. I also did not talk about it or really market it for like years, and especially immediately after this came out, I got a concussion, and so all the plans that I had for the marketing kind of fell by the wayside because I didn't end up doing any of them. But this is the past few months. I both published it through Kindle Direct Publishing, so it's available on Kindle Unlimited, and you can also purchase the paperback from Amazon. And so that's one source of income where I get paid in Kindle Unlimited based on the number of pages that people read, and then people can also order paperbacks or the Kindle copy through there. And then I also publish it through Ingram Spark so that bookstores can order it, or you can order it through Barnes & Noble, which past year nobody has done. People definitely did it in the first few months after publishing it when I was talking about it a little bit more and it was new, but nobody's been doing that lately. So as we can see, these numbers are pretty terrible. The estimate for this month is already, I think, $11-ish, and I would attest a lot of that to this new kind of like anonymous marketing account that I created, where I'm mostly just posting different marketing stuff about the Power Shadows, so testing and experimenting with a lot of different leads, and I don't really know how to write copy for any sort of marketing content, so I'm trying to learn that and be just a lot more consistent and experimental there. So any success this month, I would attest to that, and I can also talk a little bit about how that goes at the end of the month after we see kind of the results from what I've been putting in place. But I got the idea from this YouTuber. She has a ton of great videos on that, and definitely inspired me to start trying it. It's pretty easy, and especially compared to sitting down and talking videos or funny TikToks that I've made in the past, creating these like kind of like faceless videos is just much easier, and I've seen a lot more, I think, conversion than I have with even my like personal TikTok account, which might have a larger following. One of the biggest things, just write more books. So even though that's kind of a little bit hard to balance with any sort of traditional route I'm going, I just need to get a move on and start building that backlog. So especially as I start querying since querying can be mentally pretty difficult, I want to be in the process of drafting the next Power Shadows and continuing on that journey so that I can, balance the emotions of my writing self and writing side of things. And then if we're getting into the specifics for this month, which it is the middle of the month of July / towards the end, so we don't have a full month of planning yet, but I'll do a full month of planning for August, so we'll definitely watch out for that video coming. But the current goals are, I finished writing my editing notes for Potentia Draft 3, so this one is done. And then next I'm going to start implementing those edits. There's definitely some significant changes to character motivations, and I'm introducing some of the kind of mystery plot lines a little bit earlier to create more interest in the beginning, because I think a lot of the feedback was that it's a little slow in the beginning, but then, once we got to a halfway point, I guess, people really couldn't put it down. So I want to start introducing some of those mysteries earlier to hook people a lot faster. But that's big picture plan. If you want to hear more about that, let me know. And then I'm also going to start kind of getting my materials together for querying. I don't want to have to do it all at once, and I especially want to let it kind of sit and subconsciously simmer so I can kind of keep tweaking and improving things before I get ready to send out the first batch. And then I also have a few planned YouTube vlogs, and then my querying plan video, and then some more YouTube videos coming. Then some line edits. Definitely have a pretty accelerated pace planned for the final revisions of Potentia, so this might get pushed out, but I really want to try and make progress as quickly as possible, because again, I feel like I had a lot of really great progress when I did that 30-day challenge, which I have all of that journey vlogged here if you want to check it out. I definitely have been a little bit stalled since sending it to beta readers and having the feedback trickle in and letting everything kind of simmer, which has been good because I've definitely had more brain space to think about it and make connections that I might not have if I was going really fast. But I'm ready to kind of get to the races and really power through this next round and next draft. So that was my new author hub and how I'm going to be tracking all of my progress moving forward on my 3 key goals for my author career. If you have any way that you track your writing or any business side to being an author, please let me know down below. I would love to hear how everybody handles this, since it's definitely a lot and most of us don't get to do this as our full-time career, so it's kind of on the side. And thank you for hanging out with me today. If you want to get more notifications on those upcoming videos, you can click the bell down below. And I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.